Hello everyone and welcome back to my studio. Today I'm going to be working in my nature journal using my Neocolor II water-soluble wax pastel. Today I'm going to be drawing a gray catbird with some pink flowers, and I'm starting my process a little bit differently than how I usually do. I'm using the Neocolor IIs that I've already activated on my palette. And all I've done is I've taken the crayon, I've colored on my palette, and I've added water to it, and it transforms it basically into a watercolor paint. So I did a very light sketch with pencil first of my bird and my flowers and my branch, and what I'm doing now is I'm just coming in and doing a really loose and random background using two different color greens. And I'm just moving the color around. I'm working around my flowers. I'm going to work around my bird. And I wanted to try this way instead of starting with sketching with the crayons first, because sometimes when you start by sketching, it can be really easy to add too much color to begin with. So I wanted to try this process just to see what kind of different looks I can get. To make my background even more uneven or splotchy or just more random, I added some spatter by just tapping my wet brush on top of the existing background. Once my background is finished, I took some different color grays and I colored on my palette. If you don't have a plastic palette like this, you can just color on watercolor paper, or you can even use wax paper to use as a palette and activate your colors that way. I'm just adding the basic shape of the bird. I'm not going to worry about any details yet. Usually what I like to do when I'm using my Neocolor IIs is I like to do a light background layer first, and I always like to let my layers dry in between, and I gradually build my layers and add more detail as I go along. The sketchbook that I'm using is the Royal Talons mixed media sketchbook, and as you can tell a little bit, the paper does buckle as I'm adding water, but I really enjoy using this particular sketchbook because it's very inexpensive and it really handles everything that I use on it. I've used acrylic paint, gouache paint, watercolor, colored pencils, and they all seem to work really well. So I definitely think that it's worth trying. I'm starting to add some pink to my flowers, and I'm just adding two different pinks and just tapping the brush and making some very loose shapes for my flowers. I'm going to come back in now that my first layer is dry and add some more color for the leaves and the background of my painting. And I like to work really quickly all over my painting and just try to be really random as much as I can. Once that layer's dry, I'm coming back with the Caran d'Ache Neocolor IIs again, and I'm going to begin to start to add some details. Some of these details I will activate with water. I won't completely activate. I like to leave a little bit of those crayon marks to show through. I think it just gives it a little bit more interest and a little more fun just to see some of the different textures that you can get. One of the reasons that I really love using Neocolor IIs is that they really encourage you to play and experiment, and they invite you to explore without worrying about perfection or getting everything perfectly right. I'm using a water brush, and this is a brush that has water in the handle, and I think that this particular type of brush really lends itself to Neocolor IIs because I think it helps you be a little more spontaneous, and you're not worrying again about having perfect details. Sometimes the water, it does what it wants to do, and that's okay. Once I added a little bit of detail to my bird, I'm going to go in and start adding my branches and some more details to my flowers, and I'm going to continue to just add some depth. I'm going to use some colored pencils to add even more detail, and I'll be using an acrylic marker to add some highlights. I love to use mixed media. It's fun to experiment, and I just love the look that you get by trying different materials together. So if you enjoyed this tutorial, I hope that you'll give me a thumbs up and like this video and stay to the end and you can see my finished painting. And please leave me a comment if there's something that you would like to see me draw or paint with my Neocolor II water-soluble wax crayons.